Joyce Dinkins serves voices at Our Daily Bread Ministries, developing its effort to develop resources for diverse African American audiences and champion content by African American writers for its general audiences. She acquires authors, edits, and writes content for the ministry, including special editions of the Our Daily Bread devotional and Our Daily Bread publishing books, and collaborates in content development for audible and film projects. She has freelance writing that's included projects for a number of other Christian publishers. She's achieved awards for fiction and nonfiction editing from the American Writers and Speakers Association, and she has been involved with the Publishing in Color Conference since its inception. Hear now from an editor who provides opportunities through remembering her lived experiences. I'm so honored today on Conversations with Hutch to have Joyce Dinkins with us. You need to hear her story. And so let me get out of the way, and Sister Dinkins, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, it's a joy to talk with you always, and I'm grateful that you wanted to have a chat, and I'm looking forward to something that'll be hopefully encouraging.
I know it will be.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, tell us something about you, where you're from, that sort of thing.
Okay. Well, that phrase is really fresh in my mind because we have a podcast that we do where I work called Where You From? Where You From? So I'm from north of Chicago and grew up in a little village called Glencoe, born in Evanston, Illinois, at the Black People's Hospital. I was born a Negro. Back then they called us Negroes.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I think about where I'm from, I think about my parents' lineage, which was, their journey began in the South, in Georgia, and they were domestic servants on Lookout Mountain, Tennessee, when they met, and they migrated north as domestic servants in the 1940s, toward the end of the Great Migration. And so I'm from north of Chicago in the suburbs, but I grew up in a household with the son of a former slave, and in a household with my mother's mother having been a washerwoman, and a single mom raising kids in very difficult era in the South. So I have a complex background. I'm youngest of 8. My father's first child from his first marriage died of malnutrition. I'm number 8. Things got better over the years. When I was born, there was something to eat. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but where I'm from, the community was a wealthy community.
You were able to see both sides of it.
Very much so. We used to sell potholders door to door as kids. We were enterprising because our parents were workers and we were taught to work. And so where I'm from is from a people who were always working. That's a large part of my makeup. So we were selling potholders that we made door to door on the wealthy streets of suburban Chicago. And then we returned into the enclave of the Black community, where we had Black, Italian, pretty much some of the first settlers of that community. Yeah, so that's a little bit about where I'm from.
Well, what's interesting about that, and what people don't realize, is that a lot of communities, such as the one in which you grew up, have feeder communities where the people that work for and work in those households live. bus lines, like where I am in Memphis, the bus lines pretty much were engineered to get the domestic workers out to the outlying areas in the morning and take them home in the evening. So that's not unusual, but we just don't document it, talk about it, realize the ramifications of it. And I think in your case, it helped the field probably where you are now. Before we talk more about, your trajectory, let me put a pin right there.
Yeah.
Tell us what you do right now. All of the 9, 12, 11, I'm teasing her because I know her, titles and things, that position that you hold right now.
Well, I work at Our Daily Bread Ministries full-time, have since 2018, as executive editor of Our Daily Bread Ministries Voices collection. And as an executive editor, I do some writing still. I love to write, but a lot of what I do is involved with relating to people in order to improve representation of Black peoples in publishing, and in particular, since Our Daily Bread is a ministry, in Christian publishing. And that's something that I've been engaged in as God gave me grace to do so since 1987 with various publishers. I'm an advisor of a sort. I'm on a few boards. I am on the Diversity and Equity subcommittee, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion subcommittee of the Evangelical Christian Publishing Association, where we try to open doors for increased representation of Black and Indigenous people of color into the industry. I'm on the board as an associate director of the Academy of Christian Editors, which is really a sort of a fellowship group. We get together every year on a retreat, but we also network and encourage each other in our roles. And they've been a blessing to me over the years. I work as an advisor for the Publishing in Color that Brian Elaine started in 2018, publishingincolor.com. And so in my role, I work with at Our Daily Bread with special editions of our Daily Bread devotional, with book publishing, with critiquing podcasts and media, including documentaries, film. And I actually work as a voice. I give voice to a couple of our regular Our Daily Bread writers' material. I read their devotionals and that are broadcast and posted online. I'm a mom. I have 3 adult children, and they're all single. So I steal other people's grandchildren when I can. And everywhere I go, everywhere my husband and I go, Stephen, we always say, "Oh, that's a cute little baby." We always trying to steal somebody else's babies. But my husband and I have been involved in ministry together for the entirety of our marriage, 34 years at present. And yes, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. And I think when I was about 8 years old, I was praying with my mom and trying to connect with God. And by the age of 31, I picked up a Bible, really, because I didn't grow up reading scripture, but I picked up a Bible at the prompting of God and read something that made sense to me and changed my life. So I went from working at NBC News and the Chicago Tribune and secular media to working in Christian publishing after that experience of coming to Christ.
I want to put a pin right there. I keep interrupting, but these two trajectories, you have writing, all right. How did you start writing? And then take us to when you did the secular side through the Christian side, because with what you described in your upbringing and now with what you described in terms of your profession, let's see the connection. When did you start? When did you fall in love with the written word? Let's start there.
Well, I told you I was number 8. And so my siblings, they were grown and at school, and I was still at home. I was at home with my mom for about, I'm going to say, a year. There was about a year there where it was just me and her, which was really nice. I had her all to myself. And my parents, because they were denied literacy, right? In the South, you know, we know our history, you know, that literacy was not for us. Right? But we decided that it was. And the Lord made a way for us. So they had a desire for us to be literate. So my mother read to me. I can distinctly remember to this day. In fact, I was writing about this in an article I'm doing for a book for women. I can remember sitting in her lap. I can almost palpably feel the sensations of, and turning the pages of the books and reading stories from different books. And then I had my father who, again, his father having been born in slavery, my dad made certain that we had books. We had encyclopedia, we had sets of books, we had a small, it was our library. He took some boards and he put them up on a wall and he nailed them, and we had the encyclopedia, the books there. And I would ask my dad, who was 45 years old when I was born and a talker, when he would use a word, or in order to connect with him while he was reading after work, I'd ask him, well, what does that mean? And he would send me, he'd say, go look it up. He would never tell me. If I said, what does university mean? You know, and I loved words. I think the Lord gave me a love for words, for language from from childhood. I would say, we'll go look it up. I would go look it up. And so the school systems that we had access to, which were really some of the best in the nation, and a home environment that nurtured creativity. My mother was very creative. So I can remember wanting to go to school. I see here that my internet's unstable, but I'm just gonna keep going. I wanted to go to school at the same time that I loved being at home with my mom. I wanted to go to school. And so I had a love for learning that was nurtured in me from home, from the institutions that I attended. And I had teachers who took an interest. You know, kids, a long time ago, I heard a speaker talk about the comments of significant others and the impact that they can have on our lives, whether they are kind comments or negative comments. And I had a 2nd grade teacher I can remember, and a 3rd grade teacher who gave me opportunities to speak, tell stories, and assignments to write stories, and who gave me applause. And my parents did too. So I think with that encouragement, I wanted to write. I think I also wanted to write because of there was a book in that little library my dad made. And I want to say the title was There Was Once a Slave. And I read that book, that was probably the only book that I saw representation of Black people in for the first 20 years of my life.
Mm.
In the school system, in the libraries, at the university, you could never find books. I was young before Ebony became, Johnson Publishing was founded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was not, at least I didn't have access to any literature where I could see myself or anyone like me. As an old African woman who said, and I've quoted her over the years, if you never see yourself in a book, it's as if you never existed.
That's powerful.
So I, in terms of answer your question of why I wrote because it was nurtured in me, but I also began writing, news writing, because my parents were avid readers, watchers of the news. They would discuss human rights and other and racial issues and protest and take me to marches where King was speaking. And as I was going, so I had a desire to use the language to fight against the wrongs that I could see.
I'm with you.
And that's why I went in. That's when I went into news writing.
Mm-hmm. Well, now
I started out.
To kind of tag to that, there were a lot of Black families, mine included, where you had parents that didn't have the option of literacy, didn't have books, but when they started families, they made sure there were books in the house. Because I track similar, bought the Encyclopedia Britannica on terms, paid every month.
Right.
Bought it. And when I didn't understand something, did me the same way, pointed me to the bookcase.
Go look it up.
Yeah, look it up. And it got to the point where, I have some nerd in me. I just started reading the encyclopedia. So, I resonate what you said, but now I want to kind of backtrack and ask you a different question. We'll continue this track, but you said something earlier that I think a lot of people that are younger, and even some of those at our age, might not appreciate. You said that one of your parents was the son of a slave. And what I want to open up is, did you ever have interaction with that grandparent or hear some of those stories from slaves?
I had.
I know we cut it off when it started to get good, but check this out. If you want to watch it, subscribe, and tell your friends. And I'm glad that you're watching Conversations with Hutch, where the stories you haven't heard become the stories that are told. So come back and check us out. Thank you for watching.